Russia by U.S. Cyber Command, rolling back some efforts to contend with a key adversary, even as national security experts call for the U.S. to expand those capabilities. Tonight, President Trump will stand before a joint session of Congress to give an accounting of his turbulent first weeks in office. An encouraging sign about the condition of Pope Francis.
Francis, who's 88, woke up and was resuming respiratory physiotherapy after sleeping through the night, the Vatican says, adding, as of Tuesday morning, he'll no longer need to wear the mechanical ventilation mask that covers his nose and mouth to pump oxygen into his lungs. On Monday, the Pope had 2 new acute respiratory crises that had required him to resume using the mask to breathe. Doctors said they extracted copious amounts of mucus from his lungs. I'm Charles de Ledesma.
This is AP News. The Senate voted to confirm former wrestling executive Linda McMahon to lead the Department of Education,
a role that places her atop a department that President Donald Trump has vowed to dismantle. McMahon will face the competing tasks of winding down the Education Department while also escalating efforts to achieve Trump's agenda. Already, the Republican president has signed sweeping orders to rid America's schools of diversity programs and accommodations for transgender students, while also calling for expanded school choice programs. At the same time, Trump has promised to shut down the department and says he wants McMahon to put herself out of a job. I'm Lisa Dwyer.
There is a threat of tornadoes today in parts of Louisiana. New Orleans moved up its 2 biggest Mardi Gras parades and cut down their routes to try to avoid the potentially destructive weather. At least 3 lawmakers have been injured as chaos erupts in Serbia's parliament. I'm Ed Donahue, AP News.
This is 8:20 a.m. WCPT Willow Springs and streaming worldwide at WCPT820.com. We are Chicago's progressive talk, where facts matter. Now, your WCPT 820 weather update.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. We'll see periods of rain showers and thunderstorms here for today with cloudy skies and a high around 50. Winds out of the south at 10 to 15 miles per hour, gusting as high as 30. And then for tonight, a chance for some rain, cloudy, although near 46. By Wednesday, a good chance for rain showers, cloudy, high 50 degrees. Thursday, mostly sunny, high at 41. Friday, chance for snow early, then mixing with rain, a high at 39. That's your latest Chicago weather update. Currently, it's 46.
T-Mobile Home Internet is all about speed, value.
What you doing, Zach?
I'm rehearsing. There are so many benefits. You got to talk fast.
T-Mobile Home Internet ranks #1 in customer satisfaction for home wireless internet by J.D. Power.
Wow, you are good.
Try singing it. T-Mobile has price lock.
They won't raise your rate on internet.
Hulu and Paramount Plus on them.
Get T-Mobile Home Internet all in for just $55 a month with auto pay and any postpaid voice line.
Additional terms apply. For J.D. Power 2024 award information, visit jdpower.com/awards.
WCPT 820, Chicago's progressive talk, where facts matter.
Welcome to Choose Views with Richard Chew. Get ready to dive into a world of insightful conversations and thought-provoking discussions.
As progressives, our job is to have an all-inclusive, full-on assault with all of our players.
A show that will focus on moving our political, social, economic, gender, and cultural conversation forward.
And all of our players means all of our players.
It's Choose Views. And now, here's your host, Richard Chew.
Good Tuesday morning, progressives, and welcome to the March 4th, 2025 edition of Choose Views. 773-763-9278 is where you can call us, and you can text us. Facebook Live, TuneIn Radio, YouTube, iHeartRadio. Email me at richard@wcpt820.com and catch me on Substack. Shout out to Mike and Lorraine down in Atlanta, if you happen to be listening. Some really cool folks that we met, of all places, at the terminal, the airport, flying back from D.C. on Sunday. Catch all of our shows by subscribing to our WCPT podcast on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. There you can get Choose Views, short versions and long versions, the featured interviews and all that good stuff. Joan Esposito, live, local, and progressive, driving it home with the great Patty Vasquez, The Big Picture with Edwin Eisendrath, Out Chicago, and our other wonderful shows and interviews. Check out our heartlandsignal.com digital platform and send all of that good stuff to the people that you love and care about in this space. I'll chat about that a little bit in the 7 o'clock hour. Going to be busy today. We have 3 wonderful guests that are going to be rolling with us. If all things work out, Robin Steens, who will be we're going to talk about 3 different things today. We're going to talk about social justice, educational justice, and immigration. And Robin will be leaning in that space when it comes to educational. Kate will be talking about immigration, and Dr. Lamenta Conway will be with us in the 7:30 hour to talk about her group here that does so much work when it comes to social justice and neighborhood justice. So looking forward to speaking with these 3 powerful ladies this morning. So there you go. And with this being tight and busy, we're going to just jump right to it because I don't want to be overly talkative. I love what someone said yesterday. I said something along the lines of, I don't want to be too talkative. And they said, well, Richard, it is a talk show. The big is Mike Nellis. He said, it is a talk show. You kind of have to talk a little bit. So, but you guys get the point. All right, Deb, let's make our way over to Choose Views News on this March 4th, 2025. Government workers brace for more job cuts. Widespread federal job cuts continue to reverberate through Washington, D.C. and beyond, with mass firings hitting Department of Veteran Affairs and National Oceanic and Atmospheric Association this week. The White House issued a memo issued last Wednesday instructing agencies to submit plans for their layoffs this week, while the Social Security Administration announced it will implement significant workforce reductions. Just a bad beat, guys, as the federal workforce navigates the fallout. Impacted workers and concerned members are looking to LinkedIn to share their stories. And there's a clip that we might get to play today talking about federal workers, just something that I think you guys should hear. So we'll try to get to it with our schedule. Workers wary on AI on the job. What does that mean? More than half of U.S. workers say they are worried about the effects of artificial intelligence in the workplace, according to the new Pew Research Center study conducted late last year. The survey polled more than 5,000 adult employees about the AI adoption to their workplace, with approximately 1 in 6 saying they currently use AI on the job. It's amazing. The study revealed a strong undercurrent of pessimism about the technology, with only 6% of respondents believing that AI will lead to better job opportunities. Now, are dads forfeiting billions in paid leave? What does that mean? The new report from McKinsey & Company and Moms First reveals that while more men than women qualify for state-paid parental leave, they are less likely to take it. In New York alone, fathers forfeited $1.6 billion in unused paid leave, with parents citing lack of awareness of the benefits and fear of job loss as primary reasons for not taking leave. There's still the stigma that penalizes men for caregiving. There's some truth in that. We're getting past it, or I shouldn't say past it, but we're moving through it. But there's still that stigma. Wildfires, as we talked a little bit about this yesterday, have erupted in the Carolinas and are still causing destruction. More than 175 of them, in fact, ripped through South and North Carolina over the weekend amid unseasonably wet, dry, and warm weather conditions. Seems similar, common to what was happening in Southern California. I wonder if our environment and our planet is having a little struggle here breathing. That condition, and those conditions, I should say, are impacting over 4,200 acres and prompting evacuations in both states. The Carolina forest fire that took place about 5 miles north of Myrtle Beach doubled in size to 1,200 acres overnight, and from Sunday to Monday, and yesterday's following. So, as I said before, guys, fingers crossed for folks that you may or may not know in that region, just as we did in Southern California, to make sure that they get the help that they need and can get to safety. Apple confronts AI shortcomings. Apple is also grappling with multiple rollbacks and roadblocks to their AI effort. Their intelligence group is aiming to roll out an advanced, more conversational, updated version of Siri. But now, anonymous sources in the company's AI department say the software is running behind. And last but not least, retooling shop class for the future. I like this one. High schools nationwide are spending tens of millions of dollars to modernize shop classes for the future, fueled by increased student enrollment and demand, according to the Wall Street Journal. Advancements include computer-controlled machine tools, laser cutters, and robotic arms to enable state-of-the-art student work. The move comes at an opportune time amid high rising higher education costs, and white-collar work slow down. We want kids to go to college and feel these courses fit on their manuscripts along with AP and honors. Some of the welding instructors are saying throughout the country. My feeling, Devin, is not everybody needs to or has to go to college. And we should, like President Obama said years ago, invest more in our junior colleges, our community colleges, and our programs in high school that are going to allow children to come out of high school with skill sets and tools to go back, to be able to go to work. And I'll say this in this space on this topic about shop class and the literal shop class meaning and what it did for so many people. I hear a lot of folks that are in the trades that say, Devin, the Democratic Party has left the middle class, and they're no longer the party of the middle class. Some politicians are saying this. I saw an article, Sherrod Brown from Ohio spoke to, we've left the middle class as a Democratic Party. And I don't necessarily think that that's the case, and it can be laid solely at the lap or the feet of the Democratic Party. I think that the country as a whole has not invested in tools for all of our students coming out of high school. I think for way too long, we spent too much time thinking about we got to get our kids into college. And I say that collectively. Rather than making sure our children have tools and skills when they come out of high school that allow them to say, maybe I don't want to go to college just yet, but I want to be employable. And I think that this article, when I saw this article on shop class, I thought that's an area that I as a society we need to lean into. Now, unfortunately, this creature from the Black Lagoon just got appointed as the head of the Department of Education, and she could give a damn about education for children, clearly. And I question her education, frankly. But the point I'm making in that space is that we as a society need to spend more time on making sure our children are better educated and maybe longer, give an opportunity for more education that's cost effective, and then choices that will allow our children to say, Dev, Dad, I want to go to, I said Dev and Dad in the same sentence. Devin, Uncle Dev, I don't want to go to college. Can you tell Uncle Richard I don't want to go to college? I want to go to trade school. I want to go to junior college. I want to go to another form of education so that I'm employable. I think we really have to talk about that. We do. College is crazy expensive. And that's not to say that some of the trade programs and other learning programs don't have a cost. I'm just saying that not everybody is built or should be forced into going to a 4-year college. 2-year JC, trade schools, and let's start earlier in helping our children come out of school ready to do something that's going to make them employable. We missed that, and that's not that can't be necessarily or singularly put at the feet of the Democratic Party when we layer that into the Democratic Party has left the middle class, and the Democratic Party has gotten away from its roots of the middle class. I don't take that on. I hear it. Don't get me wrong. I hear that conversation, and I know that a lot of people are talking in that space, but I think we can do both. And the Democratic Party, if anything, should take the lead in that space, because right now what's going on with this carnage from the administration has nothing to do about improving education. Let's just put a little bit of bow on this and go to a break. If the Republicans were concerned about making sure the middle class was strong and solvent, it wouldn't be taking away the benefits that are so near and dear and needed to the middle class, irrespective of the community. And those are federal benefits that allow people to be sustained. So try that on Republicans. Try that on mainstream media, and try that on other politicians when you talk about the Democratic Party has forgotten the middle class. Think about that for a second. And with that, we're going to take our first quick break. The number is 773-763-9278. This is Choose Views, and we'll be right back.
Hey there, it's Carrie Joy with your Work Money Minute. Today, I've got a couple reminders for you about minimum payments and credit cards. Right, get ready. I'm going to say 2 different things, both of which I bet sound familiar. Thing number 1, never pay less than the minimum payment on your credit card. For some of us, there are months where that might not be possible. And if you're in that camp, I'm so sorry. I want to encourage you to set yourself a goal of never ever paying less than the minimum. And thing number 2 is always pay more than the minimum payment. Just paying minimums month in and month out won't get you very far. Your total amount that you owe, the principal, is barely going to budge. Ideally, you're only using your credit card if you could pay off the whole balance every month. When that's not possible, try paying more than the minimum, but never less. For more reminders and money tips, head over to workmoney.org. Till next time, this is Carrie Joy saying, take good care.
This is WCPT 820, where facts matter.
Good morning. You're waking up with Richard Chew.
Good morning. Good morning. Good morning.
We're live and ready to hear from you. Text or call us now at 773-763-9278. Same number. Simple as that. Let's get the conversation going on WCPT 820, Chicago's Progressive Talk.
Hey guys, welcome back to Chew's Views. And so, listen, progressives, I know that tonight is this thing that Trump's going to do. I'm not even going to call it an address. I'm trying not to give him any good words to represent what it is. I got an interesting text that I think is important. And when you guys hear me say text, I'm talking about the text line, the 773-763-9278 number, which is our phone line for calling in as well as our text line, just so you know. And then email me at richard@wcpt820.com. But one of the things that I saw in this a text I received that I think is probably relevant. It says, there's a lot to it, but a lot of questions that came about what the Dems should do and what happened last Friday. And I think that the question that might be out there that's still sort of circling, and that is, should Dems attend the Trump address? And that was I saw that a lot yesterday. I got a number of feeds that were talking about that. So I think, as I said yesterday, that you don't yield the space. They should be there. And they should be there with the potential, with the planning to protest and to push back verbally, if need be, if Trump starts to try to trash talk Democrats, the collective group or individuals. If he starts to play that game like he did with Zelensky on Friday, then I think the Dems should be prepared to show a sign of strength and solidarity, in solidarity. Hopefully they're prepared. Hopefully Schumer and Jeffries have had a conversation that says, if he goes down these paths, this is what we're prepared to do. This is what our contingencies are in terms of being at the event. And so that was one of the things that was sent to me. Now, I do think they should be there. Because if they're not there, they're yielding the space literally, not just figuratively. And it gives Trump the opportunity to say things like I said yesterday, the Dems aren't there for you. They ran away, those sorts of things. I know there's going to be some one-off from what I read, senators that are not going to attend. That's their business. However, I feel like this is the opportunity, just like the town halls, for Dems to show up and fill that space, fill that void. So many people are looking for that, and the optics tonight will be pretty powerful. Now, I also know that Senator Alyssa Slotkin from Michigan, newly elected, will be giving our response, if you will, to Trump's garbage. So that's going to be a bright spot. I'm looking forward to seeing that. So we'll see where we go. Also, another quick reminder and offering, if you guys want to send me questions that you'd like me to ask Mayor Johnson on Friday, feel free to do that, whether you're in Chicago or you're someplace else in the country, doesn't matter. It can be a political question, a more global political question, or U.S. political question. It can also be something local if you're here in the Chicagoland area. So I'd like to hear from you in that space. And then one other question I want to put to you guys, and then we got a clip I want to play that comes from, speaking of our local leaders, that I think you guys will appreciate. I'm always trying to take the position that we can give ourselves opportunities to do better, give ourselves chances to do better in all spaces of our lives. And one of the things I wanted to put to you guys, and I've been waiting for this because I wanted to wait till we had kind of a transition into a new month, and we got busy yesterday. So I'm going to put this out to you guys, and I'll put it out to you, pretty much every day for a while. Now that we're in 2025, we're a month plus into this new administration. We're into the new year by 2 full months, and we're into the third month of the year. I hope you guys have set some targets and things that you want to accomplish. So what I'd like to find out from you guys is, what is it that you would like to master in 2025, progressives? What would you, as a progressive, as an individual, however you define yourself, and it doesn't have to be a political master, but things that you look at and say, I want to master that this year, or at least move in the direction of being better at that thing. Because I want to give you as much as I can on the political, social, economic, in that space, but I also want to give you guys some other things to think about to help round out some of the craziness that we all know we're dealing with with this administration, as well as some of the local and regional political conversations. So I'll ask you the question again. What do you want to master in 2025? What do you want to take on as a new thing that you're going to become really good at doing? Think about it. Think about it. Send me a text, send me an email, call, whichever, all the above. Because I'd like to hear from you guys in that space. I'm thinking that it's important that we have that conversation along with all the others that we have. So there you go. What do you want to master in 2025? To help you be a little bit like this guy, who is our wonderful governor. And man, oh man, oh man, there's a clip that Devin and I put together that I think you guys will appreciate as it relates to leadership. So we're going to bring you this really quick clip from Governor J.B. Pritzker.
The public needs to speak up, speak out, show up at their congressional town hall meetings. They need to pick up the phone and call Congress. They need to call their friends in other states. I mean, that is who this is aimed at. Yeah, we know that the Democrats are in the minority in the House of Representatives, in the Senate right now, but every person out there that brings their whole heart to this and stands up and fights. And you've seen, I mean, these are the Avengers. This is a team of people who are in Congress. Yeah, they're trying to convince their colleagues, the Republicans who voted against the interests of the people of Illinois, to vote the other way, because those people who voted against the interests of Illinois also voted against their interests in their state. And they're going to have to explain it. And some of you have seen the videos of town hall meetings where people in Republican districts, Republicans, have shown up to tell their congressperson, hell no, you're getting it wrong. And so we hope that people will hear us, speak up, speak out, and get the job done.
That's leadership, y'all. Speaking to what we do, what we're doing as progressives, as Democrats. And I think that Governor Pritzker has his thumb on the pulse. He has been, and I've said this before, and we will most likely say it again, he has been one of those voices that has consistently, since the election, made it clear, this is what we're going to do. This is how we're going to be here in the state of Illinois. And how great for us that are here that we have that governor and that our Lieutenant Governor, Juliana Stratton, our AG, our other leaders throughout the state that are doing the work to make sure that we can go forward. And I think it speaks loudly and clearly to the leaders out of Illinois are getting things done. And we know that we've got an uphill fight. So it's always, I love what he said, these are the Avengers. So he's, a little pop culture that he's throwing in there. But seriously, that's who we have to realize we are. And I think that's part of the reason that I wanted to ask you guys to ask yourself the question, what is it that I want to master in 2025? And maybe by coming up with that thing, because listen, it comes from a very good place in me asking this question of all of you. Why, Richard, would you ask, what do I want to master in 2025? Because I know that we get caught up in this craziness that we're all dealing with. None of us are not affected by this. Some people might think that they are not, and they may have this still have their heads in the sand, candidly. My belief, my feeling, and maybe my somewhat responsibility to you guys is to help in that thinking. What I mean by that is we know that we've got to fight, and we should be looking at how we can improve ourselves, how we can have a thing to focus on, maybe is a way of putting it, that allows you wonderful folks to have something in addition to, not else, in addition to be focused on as it relates to this current year. And sometimes, I would go back to right after the election and the weeks following. So many people were talking about self-care and self-healing and that. And that's great. And I'm in that space as well as asking, what is it that I can do that's an active thing? So that's why I'm asking the question about what do you want to master this year? And if you don't master it, but you're setting a sort of a goal, if you will. Goals maybe not necessarily right. You're setting a plan and putting a plan together that says this is something that I know I've always wanted to be better at doing. That's what I'm talking about. That thing that you say. And here's why I wanted to kind of clarify what my meaning is that it might be something as simple as communicating with someone that you care about. I want to be much better at that. It doesn't mean that, it necessarily like I'm going to lose weight or I'm going to, the regular things. It could be something along those lines. And where this somewhat comes from is I think about the people who might be out there, as I've said before, unfortunately in their own world, in their own silo, because they don't have someone around them or someone's around them to help them navigate through this craziness, and they feel like they're alone. So for you, who may not be, take it on yourself to ask, what is it that I want to master this year? And in that space, it may allow you to expand who you're communicating with and who you're talking to, and find out that there are things that people out there, there are things that people need out there that you don't know. So we'll mention it a few more times. What do you want to master in 2025, progressives? And I think you might be surprised. There's some things that will allow you to expand your world. This evening is going to be an interesting evening. I think that's probably the word I'm going to use at this point, because we don't know what's going to happen, and we don't know what the big creature is going to say, the orange creature, the craven one, is going to say, and what his craven fools are going to cheer for. That, to me, is the other part of the optics tonight. And as I was looking at my notes, I wanted to make sure we hit this before we go to break. As much as we've talked about what the Dems should do and how the Dems are going to be and what the Dems should say or not say and how they should show up, pay attention tonight to the other part of this conversation. And that is what the Republicans stand up and cheer for. Do not let that, don't sleep on that. Pay attention to what they stand up and cheer for. When you see them, and this is a message to the Republican voters in the country, as well as to the progressive voters in the country. When you see Trump talk about things that he's done and the Doge is doing and we're taking all these things, you may hear boos from the Dems, but watch for what the Republicans cheer for. And you as constituents throughout the country should see what your elected officials are cheering for, particularly when it comes to things that they're taking away from you. Watch that space carefully, very, very carefully. And Dems pay attention to that as well. Why? Because it'll give you more, I think, fire to say, let's go into their districts and steal their candy. Let's go into their districts and walking and chewing gum, getting folks off the couch that didn't vote, as well as the people that did vote for Republicans, letting them know that we're here for you. So pay attention to what the Republicans cheer for and stand up for and applaud tonight as much as anything else. Okay, progressives, let's take a quick break. The number is 773-763-9278. When we come back, we may be talking with the guests. We'll see how it goes. This is Choose Views, and we'll be right back.
Spring is finally here, and so are spring projects. So get them started at Harbor Freight's parking lot sale. This weekend, save on products like pressure washers for $69.99, 42-inch roller cabinets for under $500, plus 30% off Hercules corded power tools. Whatever you do it for less at Harbor Freight. Valid until 3/9/25 while supplies last. Limitations apply, so spring in before it's over.
In Illinois, animals are being tortured illegally for fun. Horses are whipped and punched in the face. Terrified steers are beaten and shocked with electricity.
Animals with broken legs and backs receive no medical care.
Why won't political leaders stop this criminal abuse? Please visit www.steertailing.com to help Showing Animals Respect and Kindness abolish these criminal acts. And please tune in on Saturdays at 5 p.m. for Chicago Alliance for Animals If Cage Walls Could Talk.
You're listening to WCPT 820. Here's the latest Chicago weather update.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. We'll see periods of rain showers and thunderstorms here for today with cloudy skies and a high around 50. Winds out of the south at 10 to 15 miles per hour, gusting as high as 30. And then for tonight, a chance for some rain, cloudy, a low near 46. By Wednesday, a good chance for rain showers, cloudy, high 50 degrees. Thursday, mostly sunny, high at 41. Friday, chance for snow early, then mixing with rain, a high at 39. That's your latest Chicago weather update. Currently, it's 46.
You're listening to WCPT 820 because facts matter.
It's Chew's View with Richard Chew on WCPT 820, where facts matter.
Welcome back, progressives, to Chew's View, 773-763-9278. Glad to be with you. I've already gotten some commentary from folks about what their item is that they want to master this morning. Someone said that they want to master time management. We all do. And my thoughts on that are pretty straightforward. It's sometimes we do, in all honesty, take on more than maybe we need to take on. Devin's nodding his head like, yeah, I know that one's true. Because this man is on roller skates, as all the engineers are here. They work crazy hours and they make sure that we keep this ship moving forward. Time management is definitely one that we all have questioned ourselves on. And it's an interesting concept. I think it starts with knowing that we sometimes take on maybe more than we should. We have to sometimes slow that down and recognize that all that we accomplish isn't who we are. It's more about who we accomplish it with and for. So there you go. And speaking of an accomplished one, this morning we have the pleasure of having the president of Advance Illinois with us this morning to talk a little bit about education, but also talk about the state of things in Illinois when it comes to minority teachers and how the conservative right is trying to take some of the federal conversation around education and apply it to some of the state on a state level. And I think in the wake of what's happening with Washington and Linda McMahon, that our guest this morning is an appropriate guest beyond measure. Welcome to the show this morning, Robin Steens. Good morning, Robin, and welcome to Choose Views.
Delighted to be here.
Thank you for being with us this morning. Well, I'm going to dive in, as I say oftentimes, to the deep end of the pool. You're the president of Advance Illinois, and if you could take a moment to let our audience and our listeners know what Advance Illinois is all about and it's the coalition, the work that you do, then we can kind of lean into some questions regarding education and particularly schools, particularly teachers here in Illinois. Tell us a little bit about Advance Illinois.
Yeah, happy to. So Advance Illinois, we've been around for about 16 years. We are a bipartisan education policy and advocacy organization. And schools have been working really well for about a third of students here in Illinois. And our goal is to make sure it's working for all students in Illinois. And we've got that typically involves pretty deep structural changes because systems were not always set up to make sure all students succeeded. So we work in early childhood, we work in K-12, we work in higher ed. And one of those many issues that we focus on is teachers. You got to have great teachers. You got to have them in every classroom, and they've got to reflect the identity of their students.
So lots there. Thank you, first of all. So why do we have such a fight when it comes to educating our citizenry is should be a bipartisan conversation. I spoke earlier in the beginning of the show about the importance of education is not just, getting out of high school and going on to college. In many cases, that's not what every child wants to do, or as you know from your experience, that they maybe necessarily shouldn't do. But why do we have such a push to dethrone or take the teeth out of public school education?
I think we should all worry about that. You're right. There are many paths. But a couple of things to keep in mind. First of all, everybody needs to be able to be an active citizen and really understand the news and what to make of it. Secondly, jobs. Increasingly, well over 2/3 of new jobs require some amount of post-secondary. And so it may not be a 4-year degree, but it may be a technical certificate. It may be a 2-year degree. And you want to be sure that kids are finishing high school ready for whatever it is they want to do next, whether that's more education, whether that's going directly into a career. They need to be ready. And when they're ready, not only are they more likely to be employed, not are they more likely to earn more, they're going to be healthier. They're going to be more engaged citizens. So a well-educated public is good for not only those students themselves, but their families, their communities, the state, the country.
And that's what sometimes does make this, and I know that your organization operates as best possible in the partisan space, but that's what sometimes makes this a difficult conversation, because ultimately it leans into some way leans into being a partisan issue, or at least the people that are yelling the loudest are making it one from both sides. But this is not a both sides do it moment. I see that there's one side that tends to want to take away the ability to have us be prepared. And like you just said, if our children aren't prepared, then how are they going to fight well and do well in this society that we're in? So how do you navigate instinctively? You've raised you have three children, is that right?
I have.
So
all in public school.
All in public school. How do you navigate that when I don't mean to put words in your mouth, Robin, that this is not a partisan issue. However, when it comes down to cutting the nut, it becomes partisan because one group is saying, nope, we don't want to educate. They don't need to be. We don't want to support this. While another group, although the way it gets done is messy, is at least trying to make sure that our children are prepared, to your point. How do you navigate that?
Well, the truth is this can be very partisan, and the issue can drive people to their corners, but it can also bring people together. And I think the path through that has worked for me and for Advance Illinois is let's just bring it back to the facts. What are the facts telling us? What is the research telling us? And then we do a lot of listening in every corner of the state. And what are people in your community, in every community, saying that they want? And when you really get people to focus on those things, it does bring people together. It creates a lot of common ground. Because really there isn't a family out there that doesn't want their child to be educated, that doesn't understand that education is going to expand their child's opportunities and their options, and that doesn't fundamentally understand that that's going to be good for everybody, much beyond their own little neck of the woods. So it's getting people out of their sort of an ideological cloud and into what do the facts say, what does the research say, what do your own neighbors say, what are you hearing here? And once you sort of shake that off and get people to focus on it, there's an awful lot of common ground, and we've been able to find that here.
How do you, and thank you for that, Robin, how do you navigate this sort of layered question I'm going to ask you? We have clearly people who are fighting against education in general, but particularly when we add into this one more category, which is culture or race. And historically, the country has had its huge problems there, major disparities, separate but not equal, or separate but equal, depending on how someone lands in that conversation. And you've got people or groups like the American Alliance for Equal Rights, this group out of Texas, which is run by Ed Blum, who is a conservative. And he's saying that we need to fight against any form of strategic application or use of our resources when it comes to culture. That's another one that I've been dying to ask you that question, because he's one of the people that's been at the tipping point of some of the most recent Supreme Court conversations around affirmative action.
Yeah, so one of the things that, so let me just give you a layered answer to your layered question. One of the most important things that we do for our students is get them a wonderful teacher in their classroom. And when you have a talented, effective educator, students do incredibly well. It closes gaps. If I can put a student who's been struggling and behind with an effective teacher for 3 years, they'll catch up. So this is the most important thing that we do. And there is research, long-standing research that's getting stronger over time that tells us that students do better when they encounter a teacher of color along the way. As they're going through their schooling, encountering teachers of color really matters, frankly, for all students, but particularly for students of color. So we have had some persistent gaps by lines of race here in Illinois, frankly, across the country. So we know that seeing a teacher of color is going to improve educational outcomes for students of color. So Illinois, 32 years ago, passed the Minority Teachers of Illinois Scholarship Program. They created this to say, look, let's make sure that we have lots of programs to get more teachers into the field, as we should. We've got a shortage. We have one of those many, many programs is specifically tailored to bring in more teachers of color who then are required, based on getting the scholarship, to go teach in schools and districts with a disproportionate number of students of color. Because the research tells us that will help close gaps, which again is good for those students, but it's also good for all the rest of us. That's the program. It's now been sued by this, Ed Blue's organization that says this is a violation of equal protection. But the good news is that when a law or statute has something to do with race, it can be challenged and it's subject to strict scrutiny. But you can beat that strict scrutiny if there's a compelling state interest. And the compelling state interest here is that we know that we will improve opportunities for significant numbers of students in Illinois who have been struggling, who we have not served as well, if we continue to work to get more, because there's a huge mismatch. The students of color in the state right now, 54% of our students are of color. Just 18% of our teachers are. So the math just doesn't work. We're not getting enough teachers in front of students in a way that is going to benefit them. So this program has been chugging along, working to correct that. My hope is that the state will fight that lawsuit vigorously. And the good news is that the governor included it in his budget. I hope the General Assembly will do the same, and I hope we will prevail and demonstrate there is indeed a compelling state interest here.
I love layered answers because it gives you so much to think about, to know that people like you are leaning into these challenges. And there's a couple of things that I noted when you were talking about that I guess I'd never even thought about, even as an African-American man in this country. The impact of a teacher of color is obvious. It's representation to a community of color. But I didn't even put any thought to that as it relates to the broader education of our students. And talk a little bit about that if you can. And I know it's nuanced as it relates to the data showing that when students have a teacher of color, that their performance. Can you go back to that for a second? I'm sure our listeners want to know a little bit more about that part of what you said.
Yeah, I mean, and I think it's layered, and I think that what's interesting is to watch the research continue to try to dig in and unpack why are you seeing that result, and why are you seeing it even beyond students of color. But part of it is, of course, students need to see themselves in the world and in their classroom. Part of it is the connection and the relationship that can happen between teachers and students, particularly if there's an affinity. Part of it is there's a really interesting whole line of research that some students do better. They need to be challenged. All students need to be challenged academically, but that some students really need to feel cared for, that they're not going to open themselves up, or they're more likely to open themselves up for learning and to apply themselves when they feel like their teacher cares about them as an individual. And that tends to show up more in underrepresented minority populations and students. And so, again, having a teacher who they've got some shared background and identity with really makes a difference. So whatever the various reasons are, and again, the research continues to try to unpack that, it is really, really clear that having that relationship along the way is a turning point and really makes a difference. I think what's also interesting is that same research shows that can be beneficial for all students, which may speak to, the empathy or the relational element that teachers are bringing into their classrooms to all students. So I think there's a lot going on there. But I'll tell you, the way I look at this is that when the research is clear, I know I've got a problem, right? I know I've got students I need to do better for.
Yeah.
That we have not served them as well. And I've got clear evidence that tells me what I can do. One of the things I can do to make a difference, I'm going to do it. It's really, right? Like, the idea that you would challenge that is crazy to me.
Yeah. Robin, I literally got chills when you said that. I'm going to do it, because here's what's, I think, so critically important in this space around education. I believe, and I'm not an educator, I'm just a dude that has been well educated and done great things in my life. Humbly, I say that. But it always comes back to some touch points. And at some point, even as an adult, there was a person that knew something about something more than I did, and I wanted to know a little bit about it. So I would reach out to them and say, tell me, talk to me, help me out here. And I said this morning before you came on, you may have heard this, what do you want to master in 2025? In this crazy hellscape that we're going on right now, politically, socially, economically in our country, I want to help folks ask themselves the question, what do you want to master this year? What do you want to get better at in whatever capacity? It starts with, I believe, some form of being educated, and that's not an elitist thing. And how have we slipped away, Robin, from learning, being informed, being aware, being something that's elitist rather than just a very practical tool to improve your life, to help you master some things? How have we gotten there?
I honestly, I could not tell you. I don't want to live in a world where facts don't matter. I don't want to live in a world where, people aren't able to critically assess the information that comes their way, and where they're not able to improve their skills so that they can go out and do whatever it is they want to do. And, what that is, again, what I would go back to, we were talking about earlier, is I think that is a shared view. I really do. In this partisan world, things have gotten ugly out there. I believe that continues to be a shared value across all the political divides, regional divides, racial divides, ethnic divides, language divides, whatever those divides may be. That is a shared view. You just got to tap back into it and clear away the clutter and say, look, don't we all want this for our children? And don't we want to do whatever it is that the best information out there tells us is going to make a difference? And you want that for your child. I want that for my child. We want that for our kids. So I just think we have to keep bringing the conversation back to what we know and keep bringing it back to that shared value and not get caught up in the rhetoric that splits us.
Yeah, and that's the hard part, is because I think sometimes people, I mean, you and I could talk about the technical and the numeric part of all this and the money that's part of this and all, but ultimately what I think comes back to, in part, I should say in part, maybe not ultimately, is that folks kind of, to your point earlier, go to their respective corners because their own self-interest dominates what could be a common tool, which is, hey, I want your child to be as educated as my child, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Let's start there and then not get caught up in, well, this group's going to get more money because of how they look or how they sound or how they speak or all these other, derivative points. But I want my children to be as educated as yours, and I want your children to get as much education and learning as possible.
And when we passed, so Advance Illinois helped lead the charge on creating the evidence-based formula, the new, much more equitable and fully funded school funding formula that we now use here in Illinois. And it was designed to be equitable, right? We're going to send more money to the schools, the districts, the students that need it the most, that are the furthest from adequacy. And what I was really heartened by, and hopefully your listeners will be, is there were plenty of legislators, there were plenty of superintendents who knew that meant their district everybody was going to get new money, but they would get less of that new money than some of the other districts, but they knew those other districts needed it more, and they voted for it, and they spoke to it. They didn't fight it because, again, there was that shared value. So we have done that. We've done that here in Illinois. I've seen that behavior. This lawsuit is not an example of that, but my hope is that those of us, who want what's best for all, we've been able to. I've seen that. We've seen that here.
Yeah, if we have more teachers who represent all communities, then all communities are going to improve. If we have legislators who recognize that this is going to benefit all of our communities. I may not get the full, as big of a share as this group over here, but I'm still getting something. That is the essence of a rising tide lifts all ships in this space of education. Is that a fair thing to say?
It really is, particularly when, again, we've got lots of programs designed to support. We need to support a stronger teacher pipeline. We need more people coming in the profession always. We're adding positions, which is great. So we've got a lot of programs here in Illinois. There is one that is designed to address a known gap that will improve outcomes for all children, but particularly for students that we have not been serving as well. And it feels to me like there is room for everybody to get behind that. And it really has been an incredibly popular program, with strong bipartisan support in the General Assembly here. So I hope that continues.
Yeah, as do I. And it's fortunate that both Lieutenant Governor Stratton and Governor Pritzker have gotten behind this and have it in the budget, and they understand the importance of it for all. It's for all of our children. Obviously, there's some pieces of it that are directed to the Minority Teacher Scholarship and to making sure that, as you said earlier, certain communities are going to get a certain amount of additional benefit so that the gap can be narrowed. But broadly speaking, the governor and the lieutenant governor recognize. So it's good that they're on not your side, but on the side of what's good for all of the state. So it's awesome to see.
And I will just add, lots of people are watching. This is a hot issue. When we heard about the lawsuit, we do work with folks who support this program. We put out a call and said, you want to hear about this lawsuit? You want to find out what's going on? Over 100 people got on a call within 24 hours. This is getting a lot of attention because there's an awful, again, across the state and across lines of difference. So
yeah,
we're all paying attention.
So you got to include me in those if you can, because this is a big issue for me. And not that I've ever been an educator, but I've got numbers of them in my family on both sides of my family and on my spouse's family. It's a big deal to us. And I definitely want to be able to lean my voice and my shoulder into whatever I can do to help in your effort. Robin, let our listeners know how they can find you, how they can get involved. That's a big thing to me. It's important to get folks involved. So how can we leave the listeners with that information?
www.advanceillinois.org. Look for the Minority Teachers of Illinois Scholarship, and you can plug in to the coalition that is supporting this work, but also check out all the other work that's designed to improve outcomes for all kids and really drive a more equitable environment here. And so check out the website, advanceillinois.org.
It's an ongoing issue, which means that we're going to bug you and have you back so you can keep us up to speed on what's happening, because I know you're about getting things done. So thank you, Robin, for being with us this morning.
So appreciate you sharing with your listeners what's going on in this space. So thank you.
Absolutely, Robin. Have a great day, and we will talk soon.
You too.
All right.
Bye.
Bye now. There you go, guys. Robin is I love what she said. I'm about getting it done. I'm about taking action. So get behind their organization. She's the president of Advance Illinois, and they're doing the hard work as it relates to education, broadly speaking, but more specifically when it comes to the importance of having educators in the classroom to touch our children and make sure that our children are being properly educated and given the tools that they need to go forward. So I've got more information on her. If you want to email me, I can send you how to find the organization and where to go if you didn't catch that this morning. All right, Devin, let's do this because I know we're coming up on the top of the hour and we've got our big break that's happening. And I said earlier I wanted to play a clip for you guys that I think is important. And I think I can tie this to education because it's the clip talks about the importance of, not so much the importance of education, but the people who are part of our federal employee departments and what they bring to the table, and kind of dotted line back to this whole conversation around education and talent and skills. So Devin, as we get to the top of the hour, let's play in praise of federal employees.
Have you ever seen the resume of a federal employee? Those of you who are making fun of federal employees for losing their jobs might want to peel back a little bit, because these are the people who are about to come for your jobs. And let me tell you, you're talking about some of the most highly educated, highly qualified, in many cases veterans, who are about to flood the job market. People with an extremely diverse background who have proven that they're willing to up and relocate in order to continue to perform their job. Not to mention the amount of certifications they bring to the workforce and the loyalty in that they have served this country for years, maybe decades, at a fraction of what they should be getting paid. And now they're about to hit the job market, and these are the people you're competing against. So before you go onto the post of a federal employee who lost their job and mock them or laugh at them, maybe go hold your resume up against theirs and get ready to stand by, because federal employees are going to have the last laugh.
And so when I saw this clip over the weekend, being in Washington, D.C., I thought, yeah, bless you. Yeah, that's probably what's going to be happening. And so that clip and that message was not directed to the general public necessarily. It was directed, as she said, to the people who've determined that those who are federal employees that are potentially losing, if not losing their jobs, are the scourge of the earth and they should be fired, and they're these wasteful federal employees. Well, guess what? They're not all in Washington, D.C. As we talked about before, 83% of the folks who are federal employees are outside of the District of Columbia. Sorry, guys. The Washington, D.C. metropolitan area. So brace yourself for those of you who are throwing garbage at federal employees who may be losing their jobs. And on an economic tip, your communities are going to have to deal with that as well. I talked to a number of people in the last couple of days about the impact in the top 10 markets, population-wise in the country, where a large number of federal employees work. And they spend money with, guess who? Local businesses, local entities. So the impact will be felt. So stop teasing those people. And like she said, they may be coming for your job, coming for your lunch. Just don't be a jerk. Just don't be mean to people who are getting cut for something that they didn't cause. They're hardworking people just like you. And going back to what Robin said is that, if we can find the way to stop always making it about somebody else doing something bad, and particularly in this education space, then we will find the common ground. I'm a believer in that strongly. So I want you guys to hear that clip. Progressives, we take breaks because we need to. And we will have our lines open up in the 7 o'clock hour. We also have our guests that will be joining us. Looking forward to that. Number is 773-763-9278. This is Choose Views, and we will be right back.
Think Theory Radio.
Manipulating the masses is more utilizing propaganda, gaining a wide quadrant of the public, where crowd manipulation is more focused, like the divisionary tactics of these political parties. They utilize certain talking points and phrases to target specific groups that they want to maneuver and empower and get them to do their bidding.
Think Theory Radio with Damian Perdue. Saturdays at 6 p.m. on WCPT 820.
Ready to order?
Yes. We're earning unlimited 3% cash back on dining and entertainment with the Capital One Saver Card, so let's just get one of everything.
Everything?
Fire everything. The Capital One Saver Card is at table 27, and they're earning unlimited 3% cash back.
Yes, Chef! This is so nice.
Had a feeling you'd want 3% cash back on dessert.
Ooh, tiramisu.
Earn unlimited 3% cash back on dining and entertainment with the Capital One Saver Card. Capital One, what's in your wallet?
Terms apply. See CapitalOne.com for details.
WCPT Replay.
Joining me now is WCPT radio host Edwin Eisendrath.
Do we live in an era where the people's representatives make the laws and we have an executive branch that carries them out? Or are you gone now? Are you just gone? And we have, the king says what the laws are and the king carries them out. And by the way, if the courts don't agree, too bad. Because that is tyranny, that our founders knew it was tyranny, and every generation of Americans until now knew that was tyranny, and many generations of Americans, Joan, went to war and fought and died because they knew that was tyranny. And I expect our generation, well, I'm old, I expect younger Americans will not put up with this. They will come to see it, maybe not immediately, but they will come to see it for what it is.
Keep listening to WCPT 820 because facts matter.
Imagine all the things you dream of under one roof. You're thinking of eBay. Fashion, collectibles, car parts, it's all there. Go find the thing that keeps you up at night. eBay. Things people love.
AP News. Good morning, I'm Ed Donahue. Tonight, President Trump addresses Congress for the first time since retaking the White House. The AP Sagar Meghani has the story.
The first time he spoke to a joint session in 2017.
I am here tonight to deliver a message of unity and strength.
Now there is no sign of unity, just a president using unimaginable power to simply do what he wants and daring the other two branches of government to stop him. But the president's about to test the limits of his executive power, since only Congress can deliver the tax cuts and other items he's promised. With Republicans in power across Washington, there is little Democrats can do other than fighting the president in court. Some have invited fired federal workers to the House chamber tonight as their guests. Sagar Meghani, Washington.
The long-awaited tariffs against Canada and Mexico are now in place. Canada is responding. Melanie Joly is Canada's foreign minister.
We are ready with $155 billion worth of tariffs, and we're ready with the first tranche of tariffs, which is $30 billion.
Also, the 10% tariffs on Chinese imports last month have been doubled to 20%. President Trump is putting a hold on U.S. military aid to Ukraine. He wants Ukraine and Russia to work out a peace deal. Malcolm Chalmers is with the Royal United Services Institute in London.
Europeans are stepping up to the plate, but the American pressure, it appears, is going to increase. The next announcement people are fearing is the United States lifting some of the sanctions against Russia.
Smoke bombs and flares were thrown in the Serbian parliament. At least 3 lawmakers were injured, one seriously. The Census Bureau is asking permission to delete questions about gender identity from a monthly survey. This is AP News. Investigators will question a driver accused of ramming a car into a crowd in Germany.
The alleged ramming on Monday in Paradeplatz in Mannheim caused the deaths of 2 people while wounding 11. The motive remains under investigation. Cars have been used as deadly weapons in acts of violence in recent months in Germany. State Interior Minister Thomas Strobel told German news agency DPA that the driver is a 40-year-old German man from the nearby state of Rhineland-Palatinate. Strobel later said it did not appear that the driver had a political or religious motive. I'm Charles de Ledesma.
James Harrison has died in Australia. The retired railway clerk was credited with saving more than 2 million babies through his record-breaking blood plasma donations over 6 decades. Harrison's plasma contained a rare antibody. The Australian Red Cross called him the man with the golden arm. Harrison was 88. I'm Ed Donahue, AP News.
This is 820 AM, WCPT Willow Springs, and streaming worldwide at WCPT820.com. We are Chicago's progressive talk, where facts matter. Now, your WCPT 820 weather update.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. We'll see periods of rain showers and thunderstorms here for today with cloudy skies and a high around 50. Winds out of the south at 10 to 15 miles per hour, gusting as high as 30. And then for tonight, a chance for some rain, cloudy, a low near 46. By Wednesday, a good chance for rain showers, cloudy, high 50 degrees. Thursday, mostly sunny, high 41. Friday, chance for snow early, then mixing with rain, a high of 39. That's your latest Chicago weather update. Currently, it's 47.
Plug into powerful savings with CeroWire products at Menards. CeroWire is an American-owned leading manufacturer of building wire for residential, commercial, and industrial applications. Menards stocks convenient, pre-cut lengths of wire and cable products for all of your indoor and outdoor projects. Hurry in now and save big money on CeroWire at Menards. Plus, check out our weekly flyer on Menards.com for all the great deals happening now.
Save big money at Menards.
Alexa, play WCPT.
WCPT from TuneIn.
Welcome to Choose Views with Richard Chew. Get ready to dive into a world of insightful conversations and thought-provoking discussions.
As progressives, our job is to have an all-inclusive, full-on assault with all of our players.
A show that will focus on moving our political, social, economic, gender, and cultural conversation forward.
And all of our players means all of our players.
It's Choose Views. And now, here's your host, Richard Chew.
Welcome back, progressives, to Choose Views, 773 833-763-9278. Glad to be with you, and thanks for hanging here with us this morning. We're going to make a quick turn over to our heartlandsignal.com and Heartland Signal X platform. Great post there, guys, and a couple things that you should plug into right now. As you heard earlier, our great J.B. Pritzker, Illinois governor, praises constituents for mobilizing around GOP town halls across the country. The public needs to speak up, speak out, and show up at congressional town hall meetings. Those words, we have to take those words on, progressives, and put them into place. We have to show up. And particularly where we are right now with so much that's happening with the federal government trying to tear down different aspects of our federal government, which impact us on a state level, believe it or not, as I said a moment ago. And particularly when it comes to these town halls where Republicans are talking down to their constituents or leaving early. And Mike Johnson says, hey, don't even go. This is an opportunity. So Governor Pritzker is right. So check out that signal, Heartland Signal, I should say, on X clip that we have there. And there are a few others that you want to check out. I think that this is hilarious, Devin. U.S. Representative Diana Harshbarger in Tennessee. She has a question. There's a mandate to the president of from the American people. Am I correct? And the crowd loudly says no, yells no. And this was reported in the Tennessee Holler. So check these out over at heartlandsignal.com so that you can pass them on. As I say so many times, immigration, it is a conversation that we are all having. And I think that a lot of folks right out of the gate, we knew right after the administration took office that there was going to be a lot of people who were going to be in large fear. And that's certainly unfortunately happened. And it's been a thing that we've all been concerned about. And this conversation is something that we're going to have to all deal with in one way or the other. But one of the things that I'm thankful for and that we're blessed to have is an expert in the space who's been with us before, prior to the election and right after the election, and that's attorney Kate Lincoln Goldfinch, is the owner, CEO of the Lincoln Goldfinch Law Office in Austin, Texas. And of course, she's also the co-host of Law Moms Out Loud. Good morning, Kate. Welcome back to Choose Views.
Hi, good morning. Thanks for having me on today.
Absolutely. I won't ask the generic question, how you doing, because I know you're doing great. And what I mean by that in terms of what you're doing is great work, and people need to know about the work that you're doing. But it's been a while since we had you on, a few weeks, and I know that you've been super busy since the administration took over. So I'll ask you the broad question that I know you've got some specifics to. What are you seeing on a national level? What are you seeing in some of the top 10 markets or the top 5 markets that Holman is targeting? And where are you putting a lot of your effort and energy right now?
Well, certainly we're seeing the border closure. All asylum processing has been closed. All refugee processing has been closed, except for, by order of the Trump administration, white Afrikaners from South Africa. So if anyone's looking for racism in their policies, there's a pretty glaring example. And then on the interior enforcement front, of course, we're seeing heightened enforcement actions. People are getting picked up. Families are getting torn apart here in the U.S. Detention is at capacity. The detention beds that we have are at capacity, and there are rumors of massive detention encampments being shopped by the Trump administration with, private and potentially military contractors. So I think we're going to see a lot more on the interior detention front. There also was a recent announcement that they're sending 3,000 more troops down to the border, even though the border is very, very quiet. And that includes combat troops from high-level military units who are just essentially sitting at the border doing not much of anything.
Isn't that wasteful? Isn't that, I don't know if it's fraudulent, but isn't it an abuse of our resources? I mean, waste, fraud, and abuse seems to be the words that keep coming out of their mouth. To have, our military going to the border, the southern border, and not doing anything that's necessarily effective.
I think that it's starting to become clear that waste, fraud, and abuse means...
Uh-oh. We'll get you back, Kate, if you're still there. Kate, listeners, hang in there. She's back in? Kate?
I'm here.
Okay.
I'm here.
We had a little bit of a technical something or other here on our end. I think I must have stepped on the cord. I'm just joking. Anyhow, Kate, thanks for hanging with us. All right, so you were talking about the impact of waste, fraud, and abuse, specifically with these folks being down at the border, these military men and women having to, go and, for lack of better words, do nothing. We'll talk about that.
Well, and what I was saying is that I think it's becoming clear that the definition of waste, fraud, and abuse under the Trump administration is anything that helps regular people, but if there's something that helps Trump or wealthy people, then that isn't considered waste, fraud, and abuse. And I've long argued that claiming that there's an invasion at the border or that there's a risk of drug trafficking, human trafficking, all of the things that they say immigrants are doing isn't actually true. But making people afraid of that is very helpful to Trump. It makes him much more powerful and have more support.
Yeah, because it's playing the fear game. It's the brown people that are coming to get your stuff, and et cetera, et cetera. It's the same old narrative, different day. Mm-hmm. So, Kate, what are some of the numbers that you're seeing right now? And I know that this is a big part of your work in terms of the data that's there. How, since inauguration until, let's just say, the end of the last month, what are the actual legal detainments or the people that have legally been for what many are calling the illegal behavior or bad behavior have been detained? Do you have any data there?
They're being very secretive about that. So what will happen in a jurisdiction is everyone will anecdotally know that there are a lot of enforcement actions happening. We see a lot of stories, we get a lot of phone calls, but ICE will not release figures about how many people they're actually detaining. We do know that the detention, there'll be leaks from the press that the detention facilities are at max capacity. I attended a meeting with ICE leadership and they referenced bed capacity. That's certainly something that's on their mind. And there's, other reports have shown that in order to carry out the deportation of the undocumented population, which they say they're going to do, it will require a 600% increase in ICE activity from where we are now. So I think all of us should be prepared for a really steep increase in enforcement activities, but it's going to have to go beyond what they're doing now, which is utilizing DHS resources, and then they'll pull in some other agency resources. Like here in Austin, DHS brought in the DEA one weekend to carry out some actions. But unfortunately, I think what we're going to see next is the utilization of private military contractor resources to detain and deport people. And that's, they haven't announced that they're doing that. That's not anything official, but there are rumblings of that. And that would certainly make sense that they would do something like that to carry out their plan.
That's so have they blown through their budget, or have they blown through their budget? Sorry, will they blow through their budget and then pull resources from other parts of the federal budget, or both?
Oh, certainly. Certainly. I mean, the DHS has an insane budget. It's over $100 billion per year. It's the largest budget of any other federal law enforcement agency, and actually all of them combined are less than the DHS budget. So they have a lot of...
Say that again. Kate, say that again so people who didn't catch that understand what that means. Say that again, if you will.
Sure. The Department of Homeland Security has the largest law enforcement budget compared to all of the other budgets even combined. It's over $100 billion is what they have to work with. And they obviously are putting all of those resources toward enforcement actions, and certainly I think we'll be pulling from other congressional appropriations to enforcement. It's, as we can see from the cutoff of aid to Ukraine and other actions, the administration is unconcerned with how Congress has directed the money to be spent. So, all bets are off, really, in terms of where they're going to find the money.
So that, again, is another example of waste. That's an astonishing number. I mean, when you look at that and you look at areas of our country that, as it relates to, if we want to call it, national security, we could spend that money to improve and ramp up and strengthen other parts of the country. They could, am I wrong? I'm just grabbing a percentage. They could cut that budget by 20% and redirect that money to areas that are going to actually improve the lives of citizens that need that federal support. But it's about making brown-skinned people the bad guy.
That's absolutely what it's about. Their racism just shows up all over in their policies and their actions, and it's very, very clear that they're after, dark brown-skinned immigrants in their enforcement actions. It's one of the things that, I don't know. It's like, I want to use the word helpful. It's not helpful, but it's clarifying when they are so blatant in their racism. Because I think sometimes, there's people like me who are advocates and activists, and probably a lot of your listeners who are we understand that immigration is what makes this country special. And then there's people on the other end of the spectrum who are just going to be anti-immigrant no matter what. And then there's a lot of people in the middle who try to look for reason and good in policies. And when the administration is so blatantly racist, I think it's helpful for that middle ground of people to see the reality of what's going on and have their eyes opened. And because otherwise there's a lot of confusion about, well, surely there must be a reason for this. So that's the only good I think that can come out of sort of this behavior, this blatant behavior, is everybody's eyes get a little bit open to what's actually going on. And there's still going to be a lot of people who are racist and xenophobic who are supportive of these actions. But at least the camp of people who are opposed to what's happening might grow a little bit, because we're all very aware of why this is happening.
And that's the hope part of people pulling their heads out of the sand and talking about this and recognizing that, you've only been, not you, Kate, but, somebody that's looking at this, it's only been here 2 generations. So you come from a family of immigrants yourself. And let's, do we want to dig into your family's immigration background to see if you've been here, if you got to stay here by, in accordance to all the rules. And that's where a lot of people put their head in the sand. They don't want to look into that. It's sort of like the conversation around enslavement. People want to say, that was years ago. Let that go. Let's just, come on, people. Let's move forward. And immigration has a similar sort of head in the sand conversation. Oh, my family's been here since 1955. Okay, how did they get here? And what did they do? And was it done properly? That's a conversation that a lot of, candidly, American immigrants, European immigrants don't want to have, because they know that there could be some dots that don't necessarily connect in that conversation. Is that a fair statement?
Sure. And I also think a lot of these people don't understand the actual solidarity that they have with the immigrants of today. When you think about, really, unless someone is 100% descended from slaves or natives, they are, an immigrant themselves. And if they have any, Chinese, Asian, Italian, Jewish, Eastern European, German background whatsoever, then they have been the immigrants of today in the past. They have been vilified, talked about as if they are rodents. People talk about, killing them just because they're coming here. And so if there's someone who's, proud Italian, proud German, and looks and points the finger at the, Venezuelan immigrants of today, well, you're actually the same. It's just a different time. And I hope that people remember that when they hear all of this rhetoric.
That your last 5 sentences Kate needs to be he needs to be a 30-second or 1-minute spot. And I'm sure the producers here, the engineers, are going to be able to help me pull that out. More people need to hear what you just said, because that is the unfiltered truth about immigration in the country. And you and I can get even further into the nuts and bolts and the data, but that is the human part that oftentimes it gets missed because of the distraction. Let's look at how these people are doing all these bad things, and they're the criminals, and they're this, and they're that. However, what you just said is probably the most human part of this conversation. If people just pull their heads out of the sand and recognize their own history in this country is less than 60 years. If we do it in generational numbers, it's, maybe 70 years, but not nearly as long as the other folks that have been here for 5 or 6, 7 generations. So I'm glad you were able to highlight that. Let me ask you this question, and it's about legal recourse. What legal recourse is out there for the folks that are being detained incorrectly or improperly? And I know that this is where you really lean in and are the expert.
Well, the strongest thing I want people to know is that if you've been here for longer than 2 years, or you have a fear of returning to your country, there's a way to stop a fast-track deportation. They can only deport someone who's been here for less than 2 years, and if that person's not claiming asylum. So anyone who's undocumented, just remember that if you get picked up, you have the right to remain silent under the Fifth Amendment of the Constitution, and you should not sign any documents without first reviewing them with an attorney. And if you've been here for longer than 2 years, you can pause the deportation and fight your case. So that's the thing that I want people to know, because it's really stressful in these moments when you're being detained or you're being processed and you want to cooperate and tell them what they want to hear or sign the document they're putting before you. And everybody needs to assert their own rights in those first moments when they're interacting with law enforcement, because the attorneys aren't around at those moments. So everybody needs to understand this stuff. And secondarily, there are going to be a lot of abuses. Of course, there are going to be arrests without probable cause. There's going to be racial profiling. All of that is going to go down. And the best thing we can do when that's occurring is witness it well. So take notes, see who the agents are, what outfits are they wearing, how many are there, to record it with your phone if you can. And then remember that it's after the fact that we can bring lawsuits and complaints. And there are civil rights attorneys who are ready, able, and willing to help people who have been subjected to this stuff. But you've got to get the good evidence while it's happening, and just stay quiet, assert your rights, and get a lawyer down the line.
Kate, last question, and as always, we're going to have you back because this is an ongoing conversation. And what you just said, I want to be able to continue to give you the space to tell people what to do and how to sustain themselves if this happens. So that question, that leads me to this question, and I have to ask you this, as your buddy in Chicago. How are you sustaining yourself? How are you keeping things together?
I spend a lot of time with my family, and I think any social justice worker probably knows this lesson, is that when you're helping people in their lives, you don't have responsibility for that person's past or their future. All you have is responsibility for that sliver of time in which you are helping them. And so that's what I do. I do my best in the moments when I'm doing my work, and then I set it down because I don't carry responsibility for the rest of it. I used to try to do that when I was early in my career, and it almost took me down. So now, it's like I take responsibility for what I have, and then that's it. That's all I've got.
Yeah, but that's big. That's huge. And that's one of those, you had to learn that one in real time as your career has gone on. And we are grateful to you for the work that you do, Kate. And that's why I made it a point of saying we want to have you on so that people can hear and know that you're out there and how to find you, and know that there's a warrior doing the work that you're doing. As we wrap up, let folks know once again how to find you if they want to try to get involved or just send you some good vibe.
Thanks. I'm on all the socials. My name is Kate Lincoln Goldfinch. Lincoln like the president, Goldfinch like the bird.
There you go. Kate, thanks for being with us this morning. Stay strong, sister, and I will be here for you as well. We look forward to having you back.
Thanks.
Take care. Bye now. There you go, guys. When we talk to Kate, it always requires me to take a deep breath, because this is a woman that is fighting the good fight. She truly is. Follow her on the socials. Do whatever you can to show her that you support her. Send her a good vibe, because she's out there, as I say oftentimes, sleeves rolled up and elbows deep. Let's take a quick break, Devin. We'll come back and we'll be prepared for our next guest as we keep it moving along. The number is 773-763-9278. This is Choose Views, and we'll be right back.
Excuse me, miss. Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Can you recommend a bank that offers a full suite of commercial banking products along with excellent service?
Yes, ABOC.
What about a bank that has been in Chicago for more than 100 years and really understands the local business climate?
ABOC.
But I manage a labor union. Can you recommend a bank that really understands how labor unions operate and what banking products they need?
Again, ABOC. ABOC first opened its doors in downtown Chicago in 1922 and understands the local business climate better than anyone. ABOC was founded by labor unions and still has union employees and shareholders today. So they really understand how unions tick and how their needs may be different. But whether you're with a labor union or another type of business, whether you're large or small or something in between, ABOC will always make you feel like you're their most important customer. Visit ABOC.com to learn more.
Wow, thank you, random person on the street. I'm going to visit ABOC.com today.
Member FDIC.
WCPT Replay.
I am so excited to say good morning to Heather Cox Richardson, professor, historian. Had we lost on the issues, like, oh, yeah, okay, people disagree with us on taxes or whatever, we lost on a solid wall of lies, right?
Yeah, that's exactly right. And therein, to me, lies a great deal of hope in that we've seen this same sort of thing in the past where somebody rides to national power on lies, but that's not actually what people want. And you saw this all over the country, the degree to which people backed progressive causes. And the actual election of Trump was not by huge numbers. So the thing that I will look for very eagerly is to see to what degree people hunker down in their states and local governments and really focus on good governance there and figure out new ways to tackle the national government. But of course, with Trump in the national government, it's going to be a very different kind of government than we've ever had before.
Keep listening to WCPT 820, because facts matter.
You are listening to WCPT 820. Here's the latest Chicago weather update.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. We'll see periods of rain showers and thunderstorms here for today with cloudy skies and a high around 50. Winds out of the south at 10 to 15 miles per hour, gusting as high as 30. And then for tonight, a chance for some rain, cloudy, a low near 46. By Wednesday, a good chance for rain showers, cloudy, high 50 degrees. Thursday, mostly sunny, high at 41. Friday, chance for snow early, then mixing with rain, a high at 39. That's your latest Chicago weather update. Currently, it's 47.
Chicago's Progressive Talk, WCPT 820, where facts matter.
It's Choose Views with Richard Chu on WCPT 820, Chicago's Progressive Talk.
Hey, guys. Progressives, good folk out there. We appreciate you being with us. Welcome back to Choose Views, 773-763-9278. So it's great having Kate Lincoln Goldfinch on. Follow her, send her some support, good vibe, letting her know that you're supporting the work that she does, and we appreciate that you guys do that. Our guests appreciate when you find them and follow them because we know that they need the support. Also, thanks to Robin for being with us, and I want to read a couple quick texts that I received, and then we're going to get to our guest, Dr. Conway. One of the texts that I received when we had Robin on spoke to the importance of making sure that, and this is what I was kind of talking with her about, it's important for students to have teachers that look like them, but I think it's also important to have teachers that don't, in caps, look like them. White majority communities need some Black, Hispanic, Asian teachers too, and I fully agree with that. I think that diversity of thinking and experience is so important to all students. It's like not all teachers should be male or female. Not all teachers should be Black, white, but it should be a blend because that's who we are as a society. How, unfortunately, our federal folks don't want to see it that way. And it shows that they're lacking. That's the foundation of it. It shows that their mediocrity is more important and stands up higher than inclusiveness and growth. So there you go. I just said, Thank you for that, 630, that text. I appreciate you for sending that to me. And also, they commented on the importance of some of our community colleges, as we were saying in the previous segment. So just great information there. And also referencing something that Kate said about what to do in the event of being detained. One of the comments was, don't start citing the Second Amendment to those brown shirts. Yeah, agreed. What Kate said is spot on. If you know someone that is facing this or has the potential of facing this, that's where Kate comes into play and can be helpful. So make sure you pass her information on. As I said at the beginning of the show or in the earlier part of the show, Progressives Today, we're going to talk a little bit about education. We're going to talk a little bit about immigration, and we're going to talk about some social neighborhood justice. And in that conversation, the third piece, we have with us this morning Dr. Lamenta Conway, who is one of those local voices here in the Chicago metropolitan area that's kind of made it her business to make sure that we're talking about the importance of strong communities and making sure that we have not only diversity in our schools and our educational systems, but in some of our social programs when it comes to medicine. And she's trained in both internal medicine and pediatrics at the University of Illinois and has celebrated 22 years as a physician. So with us this morning, again, is Dr. Lamenta Conway. Dr. Conway, thanks for being with us this morning and welcome to Choose Views.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Can you hear me okay?
Hear you great.
All right. Fantastic. So tell us about the I Am Able Foundation and tell us a little bit about that organization, what you've been doing, and why this organization is so critically important to the folks here in the Chicagoland area.
Thank you so much for allowing me this opportunity. So I Am Able, and I just, for those who might be looking to Google us, we're I Am Able, A-B-E-L, like the biblical Cain and Abel story, reflecting that we are so reliant on our brothers and our sisters that we are, in fact, our brother's keeper. I actually incorporated I Am Able Foundation in 2015 after gun violence impacted my family. And I knew that I had to do something important in the community as a kid that also grew up in the Inglewood community of Chicago. The first time I personally saw a physician with my own two eyes, I was 16 years old. My only mentor was a white man on television, and thank God I had that, Marcus Welby, MD. And if it were not for the grace of God and some mentors that I would meet along the way, long after real opportunity had passed me, I really wouldn't be a doctor today. And after this sentinel moment happened in my family, it just became so clear to me that I had a responsibility in the community and to use my voice and my particular skills to make a difference from the inside out. And that was really where the idea of I Am Able Foundation started. And it started with about 30 kids, mostly black and brown at that time, from the west side and south side of Chicago. And it literally exploded to an organization that impacts thousands of kids each year and runs a mentoring program where we have kids from all over Chicago. And in fact, we have kids virtually from all over the United States. And pretty soon we even have one that's joining us from Africa. And our whole goal is to raise the next generation of healthcare heroes. And as I always tell folks, we want to raise the doctors that you want to see and not the doctors that you get stuck with. So people who actually are the ones that come and sit down. So it's very compassionate. We're very community driven. It is a community-based organization, a 501c3. Our whole focus is finding those who have not had opportunity and the investment that others in other communities have had so that they can have this opportunity for what many consider an elite education, medical education. That is, for all intents and purposes, the Good Old Boys Network. It is next to impossible to know how to become a doctor without mentoring, guidance, and opportunity. So we started the I Am Able Foundation again in 2015. We're coming up on our 10th year. Last year we had 11 young people that were accepted to medical schools all over the country. We had 2 actually accepted to Penn, full ride scholarships, Northwestern, University of Chicago, University of Illinois. And it really is a credit to the amazing infrastructure of mostly volunteers, physicians, and to your point earlier, allies, and people that don't necessarily look like us, who actually stand up and recognize the importance of this mission. We're housed over at the Northwestern campus, is where we sit, although we're community-based. But we just have amazing, wonderful programs, from summer programs to MCAT programs, the great equalizer when you think about standardized tests, to everything in between. And so it's been an amazing journey of community. These young people literally come to a place where they don't feel like unicorns, where they don't feel like they don't fit in. They come to a community where doctors are giving them their cell number, who are crying with them, praying with them, even during these recent times and some of the things that our kids have been going through. Doctors, I was on the phone last night with a doctor who says, Dr. Conway, don't send me any more videos. I'm in tears. Just sharing beautiful videos that our students have created, capturing moments of their journeys. And it is special. But thankfully, God has sent us some allies that care about this mission like I care about it. And we're doing an important work, because when you look at our community and you think about COVID, and you think about all the safety net institutions that were closed between the far south suburbs and University of Chicago in terms of birthing units, you need people who are committed to return to the community and make a difference in the community. And no one actually does that statistically like Black people. Black people who go on to medical school and become doctors more than any other ethnic group are the ones that will return to their community more so than others to make a difference in those communities. We are those voices that we remember in the civil rights movement, and we want to be those kinds of voices today. So that's kind of what the organization is about, kind of that aerial view.
First of all, thank you for that, and I just I'm laughing with you and smiling with you because of some of the touch points that you made. One of them is allies. And well, before I go there, let me come back to Dr. Marcus Welby, MD. I respectfully say, gracefully, you aged yourself in the beauty that we get to age ourselves, because
I don't like to admit it now, but I got to tell the truth.
Got to tell the truth.
Tell the truth and shame the devil. Yes.
But see, here's the thing about that, Dr. Conway. That show was really I thought that show was an example of what allies can do. That show had a lot of people leaning in to take care of folks. And when you said it, I was like, oh, man, that's true. I mean, and even though it was your first, or that exposure to this white dude who was taking care of folks in Southern California, it also spoke to allies. And one of the things that you said that I wrote down, allies make the difference. And before you were on, you may have heard we were speaking with attorney Kate Lincoln Goldfinch, who is an ally in the conversation around immigration. Before her, we had on Robin Steens, who was an ally in talking about education and minority teachers. But at the end of the day, each of you three very strong, smart, brilliant, wonderful leading women are all doing the same thing. And that's sleeves rolled up, digging in deep to make sure that the people who are going to be most impacted by bad policy, bad leadership, and bias have allies. So kudos to you, in this moment, and to the other two guests, because it's the allyship. It's reaching out. Because you just said it yourself. I mean, you know that having the exposure and the representation is critically important. But we also have to lean on our other communities, not only of color, but our Caucasian communities and brothers and sisters, because we want to make sure that the access is there for everybody. And that is one of the things that I just applaud you for. 10 years? 10 years? Yeah. Come on.
Yeah.
How have you held up? How have you stayed in the game and doing this? What's driving you and what's kept you going?
Wow. The kids. The kids text me. They call me. When we have our Saturday morning professor, which is basically our community, we have, you remember how we used to in high school have rallies? They may still do that. I don't know. But you know how you would have these rallies and everybody has their rah-rah?
Yeah.
Well, before we start our clinical sessions every Saturday morning professor, we actually get up there and talk about what's going on in the community. There was a lot of tears a few weeks ago as we looked at and discussed the Trump mandates, which were actually literally impacting many of the kids that are part of our community. There was lots of tears. There were kids that grabbed me and hugged me on that day. There's kids that call me and text me and tell me everything. But when we're at the rally, we actually get to the part where we do a drum roll, and there's hundreds of kids in this room, and it's the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. Only God could put this together, to be honest with you. And we sit there in this room, kids that's been with us for years, some that just joined us a year ago, because people come in at different points and in their lives, and they do a drum roll. I have them do a drum roll, and I said, okay, next up, drum roll, please. And they all do this drum roll, and they beat on the table. And then I flash a big picture on the screen, and it's the next kid that got accepted to medical school. And the kids are screaming. I mean, screaming, even if it's not their turn. And I think what holds me together is knowing that one day one of these babies is going to take care of me. And I know they're going to do a good job because I trained them. The only thing I talk to them about is people, as the saying goes, people don't care about what you know, and they don't care about what you say, but they care about how you made them feel. Make them feel human, make them feel loved and cared for when you walk in the room. That is better medicine sometimes than the prescription that you're going to write. So I feel encouraged mostly by the fact that these kids are beyond amazing. They text me their joys, they text me their pains, and then I've been blessed to actually have surrounded around me other doctors who feel the same. Because I really couldn't do this mission in the magnitude that it is being, and it's all over the country. Pretty soon we'll be partnering with organizations down south, and we'll be spreading. I mean, we have kids from all over, but we'll be formally partnering with these organizations. And I think those are the things that keep me happy. The things that make me sad right now, though, is the fact that there's an attack on allies. So it is very difficult for a lot of the people that want to help us and not feel threatened while they help us in this current climate. So it's challenging, but I just try to remember the kids.
Yeah, sometimes we have to find it. And one of the reasons that I posed a question earlier in the show today that I want folks who follow. We talk about politics, we talk about social issues, we talk about economic issues, we talk about all these things on this show. And I wanted to put it out to everybody to ask yourself, what is it that you want to master in 2025? Part of the reason is because I knew who I would have on as guests, you, and having on Kate and having on Robin, who have mastered this craft of helping people. But at the same time, Dr. Conway, I find that when folks have a thing that allows them to be outside of themselves, to your point that you just made about it's the kids, that's your external/internal, it's the external thing that gives you internal inspiration.
Yes.
That is why I want folks to have something to focus on in addition to the craziness that we're dealing with in our political climate right now. Something else that inspires you. And clearly the children, the kids are yours. You've got 100 students in your pipeline. Is that correct? Am I right about that?
We actually have almost 200, and this year our applications closed on March the 1st, and we had 111 applicants that all want to be doctors. And they're mostly black and brown, black kids, Hispanic kids, but we do have kids of other ethnicities that are that beautifully fit, because you got to raise an ally too now. So so we've got some young people that are in this program, and and I'll never forget one of the Indian young ladies who spoke with such passion at our last Saturday morning professor, had us all in tears. Speaking on, Black History Month, this was in February. February. And yes, 111 applied this year. We'll probably take in another 70 like we did last year, which means we have to partner every kid to a physician or medical student mentor, and then they enter into our program and really follow all of the tenets of the program, and we walk with them until the day they get into medical school.
Wow. You've been quoted as saying that Dr. Conway believes, despite popular opinion, that there is plenty good to come out of Englewood. I'm going to expand that and say
Yes, Lord.
I'm going to expand that to say there's plenty good to come out of our youth, out of our children, and that we have to be the champions for that and of that. And the more that we do that, we can send our children in whatever direction. I said earlier, not every child wants to go or needs to go to a four-year college. Community schools, JCs. There's a lot of people, you probably can comment on this better than I can. There's some 16-year-old, 15-year-old, 14-year-old that understands that his or her brain gets robotics. But they don't necessarily want to go to college. They may be able to start to develop that skill set and that desire and that curiosity with programs that will allow them to, at that age, say, hey, wait a minute, maybe I'm going to go to a technical school instead and develop a device that will potentially be the thing that saves someone's life down the road. And I think that as we expand, as we as grown folks try to look at education from that perspective, that we can do a better job of helping our younger folks, our children, be more aspirational and then be focused on what's really right for how their brain works. Does that make any sense?
No, that makes total sense. And I just want to speak to the junior college component. I do think we actually encourage a lot of our students, quiet as is kept. You know, opportunity is not as available as people like to try to make it look like. There's a lot of people who cannot afford to go to college because they don't even have the credit that would allow them to get federal loans. And now we know that federal loans won't exist probably for some of our students in the coming months to years. So I think that the junior college is not only a wonderful opportunity, and many of our pre-med students do their first couple of years in junior college, and some of our kids who have actually graduated from a four-year college, but they didn't have I Am Able earlier in their years, so they made a mistake. Many of them go back and take some of the fundamental classes that they need at these junior colleges. And for those who don't choose medicine, now our program is strictly medicine, there are a host of goodness, I don't want to say hundreds, but it almost feels like that at Malcolm X. They are one of the places where you can get such a broad technical education from everything from radiology to medical tech and surgical tech and all types of things that people want to do. So to your point, yes, there's so many things that we need to consider for our young people and provide those kinds of opportunities for those who may not go to college, but for those who go to college, still the two-year college option is wonderful for many.
Yeah, and that's what I think.
As a starting point.
As a starting point. And that's all we need is a starting point. Because then that starting point allows them to get some confidence. And then when they have that because you know this as well as anybody. You know, medicine's tough, but it doesn't have to be. And there's probably a lot of people that are fearful of, they want to be in the medical business or be a doctor or be a medical practitioner, but there may be in the back of their mind that they got to see in biology and how am I going to do this? So it's the ability to start somewhere is as important as anything because it allows our young folks or any of us to layer some minor successes, some baby successes, and then the next and the next and the next, and they come across a Dr. Lamenta Conway who says, hey, we got you. We've got a program that's going to allow you to continue to move forward.
That's right. That's right. Because where there's a will, there is a way. And as long as we tell the kids, look, you can do this, you're just going to have to pay for it. And I'm talking about with sweat equity, with your heart and your soul, because you can do this. With all the things that's not going so well in our country, one thing that does work somewhat is you can fight your way around these barriers. Now, they're throwing up a lot more than it was there before, and they're getting a lot harder. But the opportunity to keep striving and walking around and moving around those barriers are possible. And that's one of the things that we do at I Am Able Foundation. We do what we call affirmative academic advising. We affirm your vision, and we stand there with you and say, hey, if you want to do it, you can do it. We'll show you how.
So give us some words and how people can find you and get involved, because I wrote down the word volunteers earlier because you said so much of part of the success and the work that you guys are able to do is because of the volunteers. So let folks know, as you did at the beginning, how they can find and how they can get involved with the organization.
Yes, thank you so much. I would ask them to email info@iamable.org. And it's really important that you don't do the mind switch of able and able. It's ABEL. So it's info@iamabel.org. O-R-G. And we do have room for people of all sorts of backgrounds, physicians, no matter, nurses come and they do some things with us too, but people who are out in the community who have specific skill sets, even fundraising, volunteering for our major conference. Like we have a huge conference at Rush University. It's a 3-day citywide student conference. It's going to be May 15th through the 17th. We have this every year. This is our 8th year. Students who are interested, if they go to our website, which is iamable.org, not www.iamable.org, they'll be able to come to this. Last year, we had over 1,300 attendees, our Chicago babies. Yeah, Chicago babies that came. We actually have about 500 CPS students that are bused to this conference. It's an amazing 3-day conference. Last year, Senator Dick Durbin joined us, and he truly inspired us. He is just incredible. And we just had amazing, amazing people from all over the nation, actually. So they can visit our website at iamable.org. They can email us at info@iamabel.org. And my words is just to stay encouraged. Don't give up hope. Things are looking very grim. Like the article that you and I are both aware of that came out of WBEZ that showed that admissions since the Supreme Court the Supreme Court ruling in 23, which was actually really levied at colleges and not medical schools, but medical schools anticipated that this impact would impact medical schools as well. And so we've seen a sharp fall in admissions for Black and Hispanic kids and a rise in other demographics. And, of course, this is intentional by design, and it is very sad for all of us. But I just want to remind everyone we've been in this place before, especially as Black people, and we are going to power our way through it. And as long as we have breath in our bodies and we have these beautiful allies, as well as Black and Latino physicians who are fighting with us, we're going to get our babies through this, and they're going to become the doctors that we want to see and the ones that we actually need.
That's fantastic, Dr. Conway. The 15th through the 17th of May is your conference. I'd like to have you back on leading up to that we can speak to that again. Maybe mid to late April, we can have you back on, talk about the conference, talk about the work and all that, because this is going to be an awesome event. So let's make sure we get that done. But for now, guys, I'm going to leave you with the former watcher of Marcus Welby, MD, who's gone on to create one of the wonderful organizations here in the Chicagoland area. I Am Able, ABEL Foundation. Check her out. Yes. Dr. Lamenta Conway, thank you for making time to be with us on Choose Views this morning. We really appreciate it.
What an honor. Thank you so much.
Have a great day, and we'll talk soon.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Man, oh, man. Marcus Welby, MD. Yeah, I watched it, too. I sat in front of the black and white television and watched the show. It was pretty good. Thanks to Dr. Conway for being with us this morning. What a powerhouse of women leaders. Y'all know where I am in that space. I was raised to make certain that I had strong people in my life, and my father told me years ago, he said, son, one of the best things you can do is make sure that you have strong women around you. It'll make you a better man. And I hope my father is thumbs up right now in his grave going, he got the message. But thank you to these three women. Robin Steens, who was with us this morning, speaking about she's a president, I should say, of the Advance Illinois organization. Check her out. Kate Lincoln Goldfinch, immigration attorney, and fighting the good fight against our immigration policies and our awful administration programs right now. And of course, Dr. Lamenta Conway, who is the physician, I should say, and founder of I Am Able, ABEL Foundation. Follow these three women. give them your support, send them some love, whatever you can do to volunteer to be a part of what they do. I think it'll be good for you. It'll be good for your soul. So I appreciate you guys for plugging in and tuning in this morning, because these ladies are getting it done. I'm going to leave you guys with something a little fun today, and I think we've had some good laughs in the last segment with Dr. Conway. But I want to leave you guys with this clip that I found rather appropriate for where we are right now, and given tonight's going to be this Trump address. I'm not even going to call it a state of whatever address, because that tarnishes the history of that event from other better presidents. But this is one that Devin and I put together called Don't Buy Teslas.
There is a massive movement across the entire planet right now to basically boycott Elon Musk and Tesla. And here in the United States, there is a movement that, of course, is, encouraging people to show up at Tesla dealerships and protest Elon Musk. Alex Winter, actor, director, all-around good guy, is one of the people that's helping organize these and spread the words about them. And it's having a direct impact on Elon Musk. But more importantly, it's having a direct impact on Tesla's stock. Tesla stock so far this year, and we're only at the end of the second month of the year, let's keep that in mind, but so far this year, Tesla stock has dropped 25%, which has erased $100 billion from Elon Musk's net worth. And a large part of that is because people around the globe, it's happening in Europe as well, tremendously, it's happening in China, they don't want to buy Teslas, not because they don't like electric vehicles, not because they don't like the cars, but they don't want to buy Teslas because Elon Musk is a piece of human garbage.
There you go. Thought he was going to say something else, didn't you? All right, guys, stay tuned for Joan Esposito today. Live, local, and progressive. Joan will be joined by Illinois Representative Robin Kelly, Representatives Robin Kelly and Brad Schneider, plus Up North News founder Pat Creetlow and Heartland Signals Rich Eberwine, with 3 stories you might have missed from our digital newsroom. Live, local, and progressive. Today, Joan Esposito, 2 to 5 p.m. here on WCPT. Tonight, 5 to 7. Ken Mejia Beal will be, along with Elliot Serrano, guest hosting for Patty Vasquez. And their guests will include Wisconsin radio host Ben Kamenos, Lyle Mayer, Mary Jo Mullen, running for re-election, Driving You Home with Patty Vasquez. Check out her show tomorrow. We'll be back. Guys, have a great day today. Stay safe. And what do we say always? Take a deep breath and make your life count. We'll see you tomorrow.
Are you tired of talking to yourself? We can get you an audience on the radio. You can produce and host your own radio show on one of our 2 stations. Please call 773-792-1121. That's 773-792-1121 and ask for Mark. Limited space available.
Do you keep putting off that much-needed dental work? You know, that back molar that zings whenever you drink something cold, or that old loose crown that migrates up and down like a yo-yo every time you eat? This is Dr. Anna Pellick from Total Dentistry and Palatine, and procrastination keeps me very busy. A simple filling becomes a root canal, or that chipped tooth breaks again and now it becomes a bridge or an implant. Time is the enemy, and dental problems don't get better on their own. So if you procrastinate because of anxiety, we have